Deepak, mate, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
It's so weird that we've actually made this in person.
Yeah. I didn't think that the chances of it happening were very slim, but we made it happen.
Cheers, Formula One. Big shout out.
Yeah, F1.
How was the weekend?
Mate, I don't know if you can tell, my voice is gone. It was a wild weekend. It was actually my first ever being live at an event for an F1.
Oh, wow.
So it's now hard to top this in a large way, but overall, amazing experience.
Yeah.
An amazing experience.
You watch those cars, there's something else, aren't there?
Oh, mate. Yeah. The noise, the sound.
And it used to be better than this.
I heard they've had to go hybrid
because of twin turbo hybrid V6.
Yeah. Because it was unbearable in the stands, right, when they'd go by?
Yeah, 2014, but then it was just for like environmental reasons.
Oh.
But before that was V8s, V10s, V12s.
Jesus.
Those things you just scream.
Well, you'd have to get plugs.
Yeah. You just need it. There's no other way you'd listen to it. Yeah, crazy. But you were in the marina, the yachts, right?
Yes, I was there.
What was the vibe there?
Like I said, wild.
Do you remember the race? Any of it?
No, of course. I was probably one of a very few people that were actually watching the race that had any interest in F1. Again, a very different dynamic. I got on the boat through one of my best mates who lives here. We've known each other for 20 plus years. So he's in finance, so he was able to organize tickets for us. So yeah, like I said, a very different dynamic. It opens you up to a whole new world of people and lifestyle.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But overall, like I said, it was an experience that would be very hard to top otherwise. But yeah, overall, I loved it, man. It was great on the boat.
Yeah.
You know, you had unlimited drinks, unlimited food, a great view. And the thing was, we had they had plasmas set up everywhere.
Yeah.
So you could watch the race because I was on that turn. I don't know what turn it was.
Yeah, the kink.
Yeah.
Just before the hotel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, just before the hotel.
I forgot what turn it is.
W.
The W. No, the turn number.
Oh, the turn number.
I should know this. Never mind. But when I was looking at your story, there was so many curveballs that came my way, and I was just like, "Wait, what?"
I apologize.
But you were an actor before being a general manager in a real estate company.
Yeah. Well,
So for context, why don't you share what happened? How did you come about that whole spectacle? What happened there?
Yeah, it's interesting that you say it. So for me, I mean, you're brown, you're Indian. It's the same thing with me, where you go to school, you finish school, you go to uni, you go and do your economics, finance degree, and then figure it out from there. Generally, it's hitting up a Big Four bank or a Big Four accounting firm or anything like that. So for me, I went through that same journey, got into private banking to begin with, and made my way through that process. Got into FX at one point for a very short period of time. Then I went to events, and what I found was, whilst I was doing all those things in the background, I'd been dancing for about 10 years, 10, 15 years. So my grandfather, when he moved to Sydney from India, he was a classically trained dancer as well as on-stage actor and everything like that. So for him, he had the bug, kind of runs in the family a little bit.
Gotcha.
And he moved to Sydney and started his own dance school. Did a lot of dance, drama, ballets across Australia and then overseas as well. And then through those means, I was able to sort of tap into this creative side of me as well. So whilst I was doing the 9-to-5 grind, ticking all the boxes, I had this thing at the back of my mind that I was like, what if, maybe. But it always felt like a distant dream. It always felt like it sounds great on paper or to just think about it, but to be actually able to go and live it was something that I wasn't willing to do at the time because, you're conditioned to think about things in a different way. And then, eventually, I did about 5, 6 years outside of uni of working in the corporate sort of space, got sick of it. And I thought to myself, this is probably the only time I will get in my life to go and pursue acting. So I'd already started doing a little bit of work here, in Sydney, that is. And I said, I got to take this leap of faith. So the day that my manager was handing me a promotion letter, I was handing in my resignation, and I was like, okay, it's time to make the move, time to change things up.
You were 25, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, I was 25.
Okay.
It was 10 years ago.
Wow.
10 years ago when I did that. So,
okay.
Yeah, an incredible experience. I was able to go. I was there for about a year and a half. I ended up working on a film. So I led the cast for a indie type of film.
The Lone Wolf?
Yeah, mate, you've done your research. You know your shit. Yeah.
So that's what we want to watch tonight, actually.
Oh, mate. I don't think I can watch myself act anymore.
Oh, mate, I can't watch myself on the podcast.
Okay.
I feel you.
And so 1.5 years of absolute struggle, absolute carnage. I mean, I don't come from a film family. So, nepotism is definitely a thing there. It's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It's who has the golden ticket at the end of the day. But it was a very well-lived experience, whether it was whether it was on set, whether it was just doing everyday life. I think I did almost 200 auditions while I was there.
Jesus Christ, in a year.
Yeah, cool. Just every day. Yeah. Just going
So you're in Mumbai, I'm assuming.
Mumbai.
Okay.
Yeah. I was kind of in the hub of it. And over there's no sort of, I call it organized chaos.
That's how I describe India to everyone.
Yeah, organized chaos.
Like everyone, let's say in a traffic, right? In racing, they say you are the car or whatever. Like you embody the car. They just know every inch of their vehicle.
Yep.
Where they're almost going to touch, but they never touch.
They never touch, yeah.
And everyone just knows that. And it's okay. Everything just goes the way it is. And you're just like, how does this work?
Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. So, over 200 auditions, every day you'd go, and there was no you wouldn't have like an agency representing you. Unless, of course, you're the top of the top.
Yeah.
You don't, everyone's freelancers. And so you'd kind of just go from studio to studio, and in the front of every studio, they'd have like a board with all the potential auditions that they're shooting for.
Yeah.
And then you go up, and there'd be someone at the door and be like, do I fit any of the characters that you're casting for? 9 out of 10 times I'll say nah, and you just got to keep walking through. It's a very humbling experience.
Yeah.
It is very humbling when you get told a lot of things to your face in front of everyone. So it's anyone that's, slightly insecure or not willing to sort of face the music in that way will struggle from a mental health standpoint for sure.
Gotcha.
But yeah, definitely an experience.
Were you viewed slightly or treated differently given you have the Australian background? Because you classify as an Indian to an extent. But when you start speaking, for example, it's a giveaway, right? So were you treated differently, do you reckon?
Marginally, but very marginally. Like I was able to, I ended up signing for one of the top modeling agencies over there. So that kind of gave you a little bit of a step up, and you'd been seen, slightly differently. But in most instances or cases, you kind of just treated the same.
Wow.
If anything, you kind of have to assimilate to not stand out.
Yeah.
To not stand out.
Yeah, it's like when I go, my mum would like sometimes just shut up, just stay with me.
Yeah.
Just don't open your mouth. Because you know how they sell to foreigners, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
$20? Nah, sorry, man. 40 for you.
40 for you.
So it's like, I completely understand that. But how was that a year? And I'm assuming you visited India before that multiple times and stuff, but
once.
Oh, wow.
Once, and I think I was 15 or 16 when I did that.
So 10 years, and you just decide, why Bollywood then? Why not LA?
There was something that I guess still, like you said, right? You're an Australian, I'm an Australian-born Indian, but there's always a sense of identity crisis even being born in Australia, where you're like, not quite Australian, I'm not quite Indian. And I think through the medium of film was I able to kind of connect with my culture a lot more.
Gotcha.
And I think I just fell in love with it, the art of it. And for me, it was just like, well, I dance. Like that just came second nature to me.
Yeah.
And now I can, act. So it's that process for me just made me feel like Mumbai was the place that I wanted to be.
Gotcha. But I love what you touched on, which is that identity crisis
Yes.
of being brown, but being brought up in a foreign, well, not foreign, kind of because it's home, but you get it. It's like it's so confusing.
Yes.
And I've struggled with it. I think I still struggle with it every single day. And I speak to my parents about it. Like, it's hard because India is a country where I've least lived. Okay. Yeah, I was born there, but then I was out straight away. And then everything, like, there's these unsaid expectations about being brown that you kind of just have to abide by, which no one has challenged yet. But now the new generation, we're starting to sort of come in and be like, hey, listen, like, we are genuinely multicultural. It's not just that we're India, because a lot of parents send their kids out. But what happens is they change, and then the parents are like, why did you change? That's hypocrisy, but they don't understand that, right? So what are the biggest challenges you've faced through this identity crisis of Australia, India? Because you're born in Australia. You're Australian, right? But Australian Indian. So how does that play out in your mind, and what challenges come up with it?
I think the biggest one is just racism, I think growing up, you've lived in Australia, so I think there's this innate sort of built within the culture or framework of how Australians are. You can just have a yarn and it's just like subtle racism or just outright racism. But, in some instances, it's a bit of a laugh. And, if you're not Australian, you won't understand the culture of it.
Yeah.
You get extremely insulted or offended. But in some other cases, it was very malice. It was very targeted. So, there were definitely moments at school where you'd feel it, and I went to a school in the inner west in Sydney, which is predominantly an area that's, full of like Greeks, Italians, Lebanese. And, for a long time, I was the only sort of Indian in my grade. So I think racism is a big one in a large way for me. But beyond that, I mean, Australia's always been home. But I think the disconnect was more when the cultural element sort of came up. For a long time, I used to not say that I was Indian. I used to just say, "Oh yeah, I'm just mixed," and just to try and get away from having to have that conversation. Which in hindsight is, sounds sad that you had to go through that process of having to deviate from who you are,
the origins.
Yeah. But now, mate, we're the luckiest kind.
Yeah, no, I do that as well. Oh, I did that at least for up until a couple of years ago. For some reason, it's like it deeply used to bother me, and I just couldn't understand why. One reason that I can pinpoint now, especially in Canada, what I've seen is you really need to think about who you represent in society. I can't change my skin color. I'm always going to be brown. And this is a message, I guess, to all brown people. It's like, or just anyone. When you're meeting people, etc., when you're showcasing yourself, you're representing a lot of other people. Be sure to make good of it, because how you're represented in society, because then stereotypes start getting attached. And in Canada, let's just say, Indians don't have the best
rap.
Yeah. And because of that, I've had so many occasions where when someone sees me, they're like, all right, it's not a brown guy.
Even without you saying a word.
But when I start speaking,
they treat you differently.
Yeah. It's a different ball game all of a sudden. So not blatant, and not everyone does it, but I've had experiences there. But I get very disappointed in my own people sometimes, which then led me to at least behave in this way, where you sort of shy away from the Indian tag. But then in 2023, I actually went to Jaipur, so that's where my origins are from. And I actually told my dad, I'm like, I want to go see this place. Like, where am I really from? Holy cow. It's stunning, man. Special. And then you really get an idea of like, how rooted you should be, what you can learn from it and stuff. But then again, you are multicultural. So that's a very interesting dynamic that I still fight on a day-to-day basis. You go home, everyone's speaking in English, Hindi, or whatever, then you sort of think in a westernized way. And it's just weird conflict. And you're like, how do you sort of manage that? You know what I mean?
Do you think that that's ever going to change? Like, generations to come, do you think it genuinely changes?
So Australia is a great example because I'm a huge cricket guy. So I played for the UAE under 19s.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, did a bit of that. But always connected to Australian cricket. And obviously used to be all white men until Usman Khawaja came in, right? But now you look at the Australian under 19 side, or like just Shield cricket in general, you have a lot of South Asian folks in the system now.
Coming through.
Yeah, coming through. Like, right? The Punjabis, obviously. And then you have like a lot more as well. And they're getting awarded state contracts. They're playing for Australia at the under 19 World Cup. And you're like, okay. So things, and then my understanding is, so they're probably like 17, 18, right? So their mindset, I would just be curious to hear what their point of view is. Like they must feel like they're fully Australian, given where they are right now. But do they also have that kind of a?
I think they would.
I think they would as well.
I think they would.
Yeah, but to answer your question, I think it would. I don't think it'll ever go away. The more you try to run away from it, or not just run away, like not avoid it, it just comes up again and again. Whether that's through a societal experience or whatever, and you're just like, oh, okay, now here we go, deal with it again. What do you reckon?
I agree. I think the subtlety of it will always exist, and unless you marry outside of your culture, I think the generations to come will feel it in different ways. Like, I mean, I'm first gen Australian, so my kids will most likely be born in Australia. So it does change the dynamic a little bit. And what's interesting is that you've got, say, someone like an England or the UK in this instance, where you have Indians that are like second, third, fourth, fifth generations, and you see it. You see the slight differences or the nuances in how generations that have been born and brought up there, how they think, but in a large way, it doesn't necessarily change. So, yeah, I don't believe it's going to completely be wiped away.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like my grandma used to tell me, she's like, "You live abroad. When in Rome, do as the Romans do."
Yeah,
to an extent. Don't forget your roots, which I also understand. But I feel like Indians take it to the extremes.
Yeah,
right?
There's no middle ground.
Yeah, it's
There's
like,
no
whoa, okay. Either, so in Canada, the biggest thing is you have people come from India who want to basically bring India to Canada.
Can I ask, is that because the type of visas that are given out aren't necessarily, associated with people that will bring a certain skill set, into, like a technical skill set into the country?
Straight away. Like immigration in Canada is so messed up purely because, they pretty much they just needed people. And they just got so many people randomly. And there was a lot of illegal ways in which people forged their applications and stuff. Now, not just Indians, but like immigrants in general. And that caused a lot of influx of immigrants, not of the highest quality. And that has just like spun a web now, and it's all just gone downhill. Now they've changed the policies. They're trying to work out a way. They've made stricter guidelines and more assessment, security clearances. So now hopefully it's going to be all okay. But yeah, not the easiest. But you can see the quality of people coming in weren't that great. And now the fact is, because they were using other ways to enhance the applications or forge, a lot of forgery, the applicants who are very strong in this case are also getting screwed up. So either way, the system's just gone downhill. So that's why.
I mean, it's very difficult to unwind something like that, especially after it's been let loose.
Yeah, and that was going on for 30 plus years over there when I dug into it. I was like, oh, okay, this is going to take time to figure out.
So it's a systemic issue.
Massive, huge systemic issue. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are leaving Canada. Obviously, you have your economic pressures as well, but also, like, what's the future there like? You go to Brampton, which is and I kid you not, I've seen a tractor over there. Like, look, what you see, the memes, it's true. Like, I thought this guy driving a tractor in the middle, and I'm like, wait, what?
So it actually happens.
Yeah, it's legit. Yeah, I was like, fair play. But yeah, so it's an interesting, the whole identity crisis as someone who lives abroad but has Indian roots. Tough gig that.
Yeah, mate, honestly. Yeah, it can be. It can be tough.
And did you find that with your brothers as well? Or your Ravi?
Just,
right?
Yeah, just got Rovs. Yeah, I think so. I think so. What's interesting is that him and I have never really, it's the first time kind of like talking about it, but yeah, I don't think him and I really ever, not connected, but spoke about it. I think we would have things that we would subtly say to each other, but nothing where we would have a conversation about, mate, this is what happened to me today.
Okay.
And maybe that's because you get brought up in a way where it's like you just toughen up and just deal with it because it's just expected.
Yeah. The Aussie culture as well.
The Aussie culture, yeah.
Yeah. But growing up though, like mum and dad, were they pretty liberal when it comes to?
Absolutely.
Okay.
My parents very different in the sense of who they are. Like, so my mum and I, we've got an 18-year difference. She got married when she was 16. So my parents have they finished high school in
So married at 16.
Yeah, she got married at 16.
Okay.
Very controversial for nowadays. Kind of worked back then. But yeah, so my parents have essentially grown up with us.
Yeah.
So yeah, liberal in that sense. They understand. I mean, they've felt racism themselves, but again, not something. It was never dinner conversation.
Gotcha. Fascinating. But going back to Bollywood, actually.
Oh, here we go. Yep.
Yeah. Did you come across any of the big Bollywood stars?
Yeah, a few.
Go on then.
I don't know if I want to. Look, what I will say is that it is a wild world once you start seeing it for what it is. Because you watch Bollywood films and you see this perfect picturesque approach to the way movies are made and the type of people that portray those characters, and they are who they are on screen. And then you see the darker or the uglier side of it, and just the amount of not necessarily corruption, but just a lot of things going on in the background, which, having been signed with the agency that I was with, you just had more insight into what actually happened and the way people get treated and the way actors themselves are. So I found that if you weren't the part of the 0.1%, like your Shah Rukh Khans of the world, everyone seemed to have some sort of an attitude problem. And I think it was more so born from this insane amount of insecurity, because you're constantly being compared. I found it very difficult to make male friends there, because over there everyone just treats you like a competitor, even though at the end of the day, if you're going to get casted for something, you're going to get casted for something. But it was very difficult to make male friends there for that very reason.
You mentioned the toxicity a little bit. You touched on it in your reels, but also displacement and loss of identity.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you want to elaborate on that?
Well, what's interesting, the irony of it is in Australia, you feel like, I'm Australian, born and bred, love it, but I'm not, I don't look Australian.
Yeah.
So when someone asks where you're from, my default answer is I'm Indian. I never say I'm Australian, I say I'm Indian. And if someone asks me like, oh, where's that accent from? I'm Australian. But in India, it was the opposite problem where they're like, where are you from? And I said, I'm from Australia. So you can't say I'm Indian. So it was, yeah. So I guess that created that level of displacement in a large way. And, I just, as a result, there's a bit of a loss of identity. And, like I said, you kind of want to assimilate.
Yeah.
Because I spent 6 months doing diction classes to get my Hindi to a point where if I would speak in Hindi, you wouldn't be able to necessarily tell that I'm, from Australia or not from India.
Yeah.
But, I think that's probably what drove it in a large way.
Fascinating. It's when people ask me in Canada, Where are you from, mate?
Yeah, what's your response?
Oh, fuck. Speaking to my sister about this. She's born in Saudi, raised in the UAE. That's it. So we are very different in that sense. 8-year difference, younger than me.
Okay.
Like very, very different experiences. 7 countries, 2 countries.
So she was born in Saudi.
And then we moved here.
Okay, so she's really just known the Middle East.
Middle East and India, yeah. Very, very like... So she's very set in who she is, which I love for her. Me, on the other hand, I'm a mess when it comes to that because someone asks me, where you from? And I say, it's like I just have to give my life story.
Yeah.
You know? And you can't just... Because I can't just go like, oh yeah, I'm Australian. Okay, no, I live there, yeah, sure. I live in Singapore, okay, sure. I sound British as well. I've got a bit of twang. Like, you know, it's a cocktail of an accent.
Yeah.
Because when I moved to the UK, I had an Australian accent because I was living in the countryside. Some of the folks, older folks, didn't understand me that well. So I had to cheerio, mate, my accent a bit.
Yeah.
And it then became a cocktail.
Right.
So
okay.
over time, I was there for 6 years and it kind of just, whatever. And then I moved to Canada. So that's the story. Then when someone asks me, where you from? Like every now and then I've said England, I've said Australia, I've said India, like depending on who I'm speaking to. The real truth is it's genuinely a mix because where you're born doesn't really dictate where you're from. Do you know what I mean? So again, it's this, your inner, like people call me coconut.
Yeah.
You're right?
Yeah, the same thing with me, coconut, yeah.
Coconut, or in the US, it's ABCD.
What's that?
American born confused AC.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, ABCD. My cousin told me that. He was in the States, and I'm like, what the heck is an ABCD? But yeah, it's like you are westernized in terms of your personality, but you can't change your skin color. But it's just this weird discourse between the two, and it kind of just, yeah. So I find it fascinating how in Australia you're Indian, but in India you're Australia.
Oh, mate, yeah. The irony is real.
Oh, geez. So with that though, what did you learn from that about your identity? And if any other first-gen immigrant is going through that, regardless of where they're from, what advice would you give them in terms of how they can accept their identity or work towards identifying who they really are?
I think it's a process. You know, it's like if someone, you know, older to me turned around and said, oh, this is the journey you're going to go on. This is what you're going to feel. Yeah. This is where you'll end up. And so you just need to embrace what that, if someone just said, this is what you need to do, I don't know if I would completely understand it without going through it myself. So I think irrespective or regardless of whether or not I was to tell someone younger than me or even my younger self that, hey, it's going to be okay. You'll find your way through the chaos of it all. The reality is it's you have to go through it. There's no option. It's like a passage that you need to go through. And it's like, you know, when you tell someone a lot younger that's going through a breakup or first love, and you're like, man, just get over it. You'll be fine. Like, but you know that they don't feel like that and they need to go through that process themselves. So in a larger way, I'd love to turn around and give that advice to younger people that, hey, like, you know, it is a journey that you're just going to have to accept and make what of it. I think the only part that I would really emphasize on is that, you know, who you are and what you are is extremely unique and special. And despite there being, you know, over 1 billion of us running around the world, but unique and special in the way of you know, what you've been able to have. It's a very fortunate position for people like you and I to be, you know, had parents that struggled, you know, came to countries that they probably knew no one in and go through that journey. So I think being fortunate about that and then not just accepting the fact that, you know what, there's going to be a subtlety and nuance to who you are, but that in itself is the part that you should be extremely grateful for.
What about the dating life? Or this unset expectation of, let's say, traditional family members expecting, let's say, a desi wife, right?
Yep.
Versus like, because we're in a society where we're open, but I'm assuming to, you know, interracial marriages and stuff. But parents or family members, and like I've found it very difficult to sort of navigate that. Trying to explain to someone, oh, I've got a white girlfriend, for example. Okay, and then you just see the look on their face of judgment of like, why isn't she Indian? Have you had any experience of that kind, or has it just been pretty?
Look, I've dated quite a bit, and like I said to you, my parents have grown up with me in a large way. I don't think there was this pressure associated with needing to be with, Southeast Asian. I've dated girls that were from, India, Bangladesh, and, in a large way for me, it's been, an experience or a journey I've had to go through myself.
Yeah.
Like now, someone that loves who they are, whether or not you're a confused Australian Indian or not. I love who I am. I'm extremely grateful for who I am.
Yeah.
But I think as a result, I've gotten a lot more connected to my roots. And because at heart, I'm a family orientated guy, and at home, we speak Hindi. I think naturally you kind of start seeing the level of similarities with, say, someone that's also Indian. My past, or my ex, she was an Indian, and that was a major struggle. Major struggle. And then, after that one, I dated a girl that was Indian for a while, and you could instantly tell like the level of comfort that I used to feel, especially in family situations where, I've got this non-Indian girl going, what's everyone talking about? Like, I can't understand shit. And then you have to then change the way people speak. And it's not to sort of encourage exclusion. It's just that's what's part and parcel of who my family is and who everyone else is in that larger scheme of things. So for me, I think I've gone through that process myself and realized that, hey, I want to be with someone that understands my culture and vice versa.
Interesting. Because my mom keeps telling me a marriage is a bond between two families, not just two people.
Yes. You only realize that afterwards as you get older.
Yeah. Well, I've made my fair share, but now the mistakes, shall we say. But then you start realizing, and like you just start thinking systemically, right? And you're like, okay, if things were the other way around, let's say I get an Indian into a family, the integration process might take a little longer. But also, would they gel? How would they feel alienated in many instances? And it's just like something you don't have the answers to it, but a part of you is like, oh, do I really want to go through that? Or is it just easy for me to, let's say, date an Indian in this case, and it's just comfort, and you're just within that sort of space. That's something I keep discussing with my mates. I'm like, oh, how do we tackle this? And obviously, the underlying foundation is it depends. It really depends on underlying variable. Sorry, is who that person's going to be. I don't know that yet. But when I do, then I guess we'll navigate it as it comes. But it's an interesting thing to just think about, and you're like, oh. Okay, and I used to just think like, oh, do other Indians who live abroad feel that?
Absolutely. Are you single at the moment?
Yeah.
Okay, so are you navigating through the dating phase at the moment?
Right now, no.
Okay.
No, just purely because I've gone all in on the podcast and like moving countries. There's so much happening right now. I'm just like, do you know what? I feel like I'm not in that space right now, and I've just acknowledged it, and I'm okay with it. Like I have no issues. I think when time comes, priorities will change and they'll be fine. But right now, it's just not a priority for me.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Just enjoying it, really.
Mate, I think, 10 years ago, I'd have probably said the same thing. So, yeah.
What about you now? What's going on?
I'm single. I am single. I was dating someone for a little while, but single now. And, I've hit this interesting stage where, I'm 35.
Don't look like it.
Oh, thanks, mate. I think it's
I've got one
skin,
grey hair
skin routine.
somewhere. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. It starts at 25, 26.
Okay.
And then it just comes down to stress and how well you manage it. But now I'm at that stage where a lot of my mates, they're either married, they're married with kids, they're in long-term relationships. Whereas now, with where things are headed for the business back home, and what we're going to be doing, once I get back as well, means I need to make a decision of, do I go out looking for a relationship, a long-term like a long-form bond, or do I go all into continuing doing what I'm doing, and as a byproduct, I might just end up meeting someone. So I will say I am passively looking.
Okay. It's a tough one to navigate, and I'm going through that, I would say, right now, in the sense of my dad every now and then is like, oh, so 26, I'm turning 27 this month, actually. So someone was like, I was just discussing with my parents, they're like, oh, the ideal age, you don't want to leave it too late and those kind of things. So I was like, how late is too late? And then it's so funny, I came across Ravs, and I think it was him who mentioned how it's all, the system's so rigged.
Yeah.
Right? It's just,
oh, mate.
And I just died. And he's like, yeah, it's all been done on purpose. It's meant to be that we're dating at a later age. And
everything's later. Everything's been pushed back.
Everything's pushed back for population control and those kind of things. And I just lost it at the ball. I was like, oh, fuck. Here we go.
He comes up with some wild stuff.
Yeah. Fair play. Fair play to that. And I was just like, okay, so let's say 27, right? Just take that. 30. 30 would be a good point, I would say. If it does happen, but the variable that's out of my control is who that person's going to be, right? So I have the least amount of control in like how they're going to be and whatnot, where I'm going to find them, But then as soon as I start the business, I'm like, oh, geez, like right now, if you throw in dating in my life, I just don't have time. Do you know what I mean? Like when you're building a new venture, you're going out, you're going all in. I eat, sleep, repeat podcast, business, or like just the media productions company and stuff. And that's it. I'm not thinking anything else apart from that. So it's a tough one to sort of navigate, like if and when kind of thing. But at 35, is that a similar thing you're going through as well right now?
I guess it's just a different stage, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're 10 years essentially apart. And so I think in a large way for me, I've gone through those ebbs and flows, and it's taken me a long time to come to terms with the situation. I think in a large way, I've always gone, like I still, I want to be married. I want to have kids.
Yeah.
That's definitely part of the plan. But it's, doing that with the right person. And I think, with modern dating in a large way, and also for me, I think as a self-reflection piece, it's not knowing and understanding the type of person that I'm dating. Probably you've dated in the past based on the way someone looks relative to the substance that they bring. And you eventually get to the point you're like, hang on a second, something's not sitting right.
Yeah.
And then you start, you start retracting in a large way. And so for me, I think I know exactly what I want now.
Okay.
I've gotten to that point, and maybe, some people get there a lot earlier. Kudos to them. Happy for them. And if it meant that they found their person, great. Statistically, though, I'm a statistics man. Statistically, how often is it that you will find a relationship that works extremely well, and stands the test of time? Or genuinely, if people are together, how many of them are actually genuinely happy with each other as well? So for me, I think there's always that element of fear. It's not the non-committal part of me, but it's more that now I'm at a point where I'm extremely happy with who I am as a person and what I want in my person. So if that takes a little bit longer, then so be it. It is what it is.
Yeah, that's a tough one to sort of navigate. Like, are you comfortable in your own skin? And then chuck on the India-Australia and identity crisis on top of that. You're just like, ooh, hello.
Yep.
But no, I definitely understand that as well. I feel like I'm navigating that right now in terms of what I wanted 5 years ago. Well, I was 20 years old. I didn't know shit at 20.
Mate.
And then now at 26, 27, you're just like, okay, now I kind of know what I'm looking for ish, but I'm sure that's going to evolve after a couple of experiences. But at what point do you truly know yourself? Like, I'm very comfortable in my own skin now, but fuck, I've worked hard for it. You know what I mean? And I'm sure you can relate to it. Like, it's really pounding yourself day in, day out to be like, okay, why the fuck am I this way?
Yeah.
And how can I improve?
Yeah.
But
Well, it seems like you've got that mindset. You know, you're very. This is the first time we're having a yarn.
Yeah.
But you come across very mature, and at least from what I can tell, you know what you want, which is.
I look 45.
No. So you don't look 45. But, you know, you can just, intrinsically tell the type of person that you are, that you're very goal-orientated, and to have left the Big Four, which is very interesting, because I'd love to know what your parents think about that.
Yeah,
But to
yeah.
have left that and to go
Mhm.
all hands on deck with the podcast
Mhm.
is a massive move.
Mhm.
Massive move.
See, it doesn't feel like it though.
And that, to me, tells me a lot
Yeah.
about who you are as a person.
Yeah, I feel like the parent side of things really helps. My parents are doctors, both of them.
Okay.
Very structured, regimented, and like they love stability.
Of course.
Being brown, stability is huge. I had a crazy experience during COVID where I spent lockdown with someone who essentially took a company public, IPO'd in the early 2000s or mid 2000s. And kind of just went. I got to experience a lifestyle that only very few people could have experienced, and I did that for 4 months. My only question at that point was, and I was playing cricket. That was my life. All I knew up until 21, 22 was cricket. That's it.
Right.
I didn't know.
Okay.
My goal was just go county cricket in England. When COVID happened, Brexit happened, those kind of things. So during that COVID experience, when I saw that lifestyle, it was a lot, sort of just absorbed. But I was like, what's the difference here between an average person and what I'm experiencing now? Right? And how do I get there? Even if I get to 10% of that, I think the next 2 generations are set. Even that then. So I'm like, how do I do that? Or just trying to navigate. And I spoke to them and they said, got to have your own business at the end of the day, or the startup route of some kind, and develop this personal brand of yours and who you stand for. Who do you want to be known for? And I didn't quite get it at that point. I was not, how long ago was that? Jeez, 20, 21, 22, 23. So I was like, okay, sure. But I just straight away put it in my head like, okay, entrepreneurship, my own thing. I just don't know what that is. And finding that thing was a challenge. So then I moved to Canada, top business school. Great. Phenomenal. Not that I care too much about. I mean, I do, but it's just something on a paper, right? So I was thinking, I was like, okay, I've got all of this, and then got the job from KPMG. I was like, okay, so I've checked every single box right now. But I wanted a big company and a couple of years under my belt, credibility, but also how are those businesses run? Why do they make that money? How do they make that money? What's the revenue distribution? How much do I make versus how much is a client being billed for me, my time? And those numbers just shocked me. The political side, the social aspect, everyone, it's almost like everyone's just putting on a show. Like, I don't know how much of it is genuine. Like, I would question people's motives of like, oh yeah, oh, we've won this piece of work and everyone's clapping, right? And I'm just like, really? Like, this does not bring me joy. So yeah, I went through that phase, and last year was very difficult as work just went haywire, and I was just trying to understand. Okay, I need to figure this thing out. I need to leave within 2 years. I don't know what for. Kind of went down different routes. Did a solo trip to Japan after I had a mental breakdown, and just having that peace and quiet for 2 weeks made me realize. And then certain events happened where I was like, okay. A couple of people told me like I have a good voice for a podcast host.
You do, by the way.
Thank you.
You do.
Appreciate it. You too, actually.
I mean, I don't know.
Living the dream. Sorry.
Living the dream.
Raps right there. Yeah, pretty sure. Living the dream, right? So then they were like, I was like, okay. And my sister one day, I was just having a chat with her. We just got heated up, and she goes, you know what, just shut up. I was like, what? And she goes, why don't you just chuck a camera in front of yourself and just record and chuck it on YouTube? I was like, you're the third person who said that. So I thought it was a sign, and then kind of just figured out. But in that whole thing, I was like, okay, if I don't do this now, then when do I do it? I'm 26. Okay, sure, I don't have a lot of money or whatever, but I have enough to just give this a launch and just see what happens. And Jeff Bezos has this thing called the regret minimization framework, which it's just a what if analysis, really. I've been doing it internally, but I just didn't know what it was, which is I'm 26. Let's go 10 years in advance. Okay. What would life look like if I take this route right now in the best scenario? And what would it look like if I just stay where I am and not take the risk? Will I regret not taking this leap of faith? Okay. If the answer is yes, don't even think, just do it. If the answer is, it's not really going to move the needle, okay, just do what you're doing right now and maybe you switch jobs, whatever. So for me, when I did that, it was, I'd rather die than not take this chance. And for me, I just literally hung up my boots literally 2 weeks after that. And
Good on you.
Yeah. So parents, surprisingly, but I did A/B test. Like I had the podcast as a part-time thing whilst I was doing it. I was doing my job. But my parents, they were when I pitched the idea, I was expecting a lot of questioning, a lot of like, are you good? Like, is everything okay up here, mate? Kind of thing. Why? But they got it. That was the biggest validation for me, which is why it doesn't feel that big of a step, because I think parental validation as a brown child specifically was, they're like, mom was like, yeah, I see this. Yeah, you're going to crush it. I was like, you what now? Like, I feel like I didn't even have that support in cricket. Well, I did, of course. But my dad was the one. He's a silent guy. He doesn't he has fun and stuff, but in these kind of things, you can just sense the skepticism a lot. But he was just like, yeah, give it a go. You said what? That, and then internally, like I found out through my sister that the dad was low-key. Like every morning he wakes up when he's having his chai.
Of course.
Sit down, chuck YouTube, chuck an episode on and watch the pod.
Nice.
That for me was like, done, mate. I don't need any more motivation now. Like I'm good to go. So that's kind of how it all transpired. And here we are, kind of a thing. And dad's like, yeah, you want to move back? Do it. Let's do it.
That's awesome, man. It's good to hear that you've gotten a level of support, because again, maybe in either one of our cases, we're a rare exception to the rule where we've gone and done something or ventured out and done something outside of the norm, and then gotten the acceptance through, through their approval, which I also think is quite rare.
Yeah. Talk to me about your content. You do a lot of content now.
Mate.
Okay, the personal branding side. The reason I ask it is because how important do you think right now is it for an individual to focus on the personal brand?
1,000%.
Why?
I think it's the type of content that people are consuming now than ever before. And, I think the age of the influencer is dying, and the age of personal branding is just up on the rise in a large way. We've got employees at Search Property, and something that we're also doubling down is employee-generated content. So people are able to understand and relate to that a bit more than just seeing influencers talk about it or the owners. But in any case, I think it's extremely important because it sets a good foundation for what you choose to do off the back of that. I probably very briefly mentioned we're going to start a new venture in the new year. Which is going to, get me to pivot out of the current structure that we've got at Search, still within the real estate space. But a lot of that then is reliant on me and my personal branding to kind of get momentum in the right direction. So, my brother is case in point of someone that started making YouTube videos 7 years ago.
Okay.
And now
are you the older brother?
Yeah, we've got I think it's 18-month difference or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I'll be his older brother, then he'll be my older brother. So we kind of go back and forth in that way because of how close we are in age. But started making YouTube videos, and now he's the largest YouTube creator in the real estate space in Australia.
Yeah.
So that's definitely propelled it, and I guess for me it was very incidental. And how it all happened. Do you want me to go into that?
Go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask it at some point. Like, how did you go from the acting, all of that, into this?
Yeah. What's really interesting is I feel like I've done a complete 360. A lot of the, I guess, skills have been transferable, especially being comfortable in front of the camera, doing acting and all that sort of stuff. But it's just interesting how it plays out. So the way Search Property is set up is Ravi's the front end guy, so he's the face of the channel, is the face of the brand, and I'm the guy behind the curtain. So I'm the one pulling the strings and making sure operationally we work well. That's kind of what my background was just before I joined hands with him. So I was working in a lot of startups and everything like that. And it was one of the videos. So we got a marketing team, and TikTok's massive. And this was probably about a year ago, actually. Maybe about a year and a bit ago, where Rovs was unavailable to do a TikTok video. And it was, asking our boss hypothetical questions. And so the guys came up to me and they said, "Hey, can we do this with you?" And I was like, "Yeah, all right, cool." And what was a very innocent video of me just, them sitting behind me and me just shooting this thing went viral. Just went absolutely viral. I think within the first 24 hours, it got over like 400,000-500,000 views.
Gee, okay.
And, naturally, I think there was an element of a lot of girls, saying, "Oh, who's this guy?" And then what kicked off the back of that? What kicked off the back of that is just a series of videos that the guys were shooting that I had no idea of. So they were shooting these, what they call thirst traps, and making all these just different content that I wasn't aware of. And people seem to have lapped it up in a large way. So that's what kind of propelled the initial sort of momentum. And then as we've sort of gone through this journey, we've pivoted and adapted according to, I guess, the stage of not life that I'm at, but the stage of what we're doing within the business or what else we're going to be doing, moving forward. So, safe to say gone are the days of thirst traps. And we're starting to do more sort of serious content with obviously that fun element to it, because obviously TikTok is a completely different market relative to, Instagram or long form in the form of YouTube and all that sort of stuff. But it kind of started there and it just gained momentum. And, what I have realized, and you're going through this as well as we speak, is the consistency part is key. You keep that going, you're going to find your audience, and you're going to find that people want to work with you, or want to have a chat. So I think 1,000% personal branding is where everyone needs to be double downing on.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I asked this very question to a billionaire at one point. I was like, "How would you go about making generational wealth?" And his face was stumped. I was expecting stuff like finance, IB, private equity and stuff. And he's like, "I would have said PE, but it's not the same anymore. Lawyers, yes, but it's a hit or miss. Startups, you have that route, but again, pretty tough. And right now, VCs are very much clamping down on where they're putting their money. So he's like, "I don't really know anymore." I'm like, and at that point, I was like, "How can you not know?" So I'm thinking, right, godlike figure has done everything possible. This was 4 years ago, and I couldn't quite, and he just left me at that point. I was like, "How could this be? There has to be an answer here." Until Logan Paul and KSI came up with the Prime drink.
Oh, yep.
And I think within the first year, they oversold Gatorade.
Yeah.
And that got me thinking, I'm like, wait a second. How is it that David and Goliath really, Prime comes in and just destroys Gatorade within their first year? I'm like, why is that? Like the Prime's good. Like it's okay. Like no, it's not really different, right? So I was like, okay, why did it change? Logan Paul. KSI.
Branding.
I was like, shit. Then you look at people like, do you know Iman Gadji?
Yes.
Iman, the way he's built up he does have the money. He is legit. But again, it's all personal brand. He documented everything through content, his entire journey, which is his credibility source now. He's built up his repository. So then I realized, I'm like, fuck, okay. It has to be content, which is going to dictate your personal brand, and you capturing everything and being authentic. So then I was like, oh shit. So that's when I see creators like you. Yeah, I would classify you as a creator, not just a general manager at Search Property, right? So the EGC side is very, very interesting though. And I told someone at KPMG, one of my partners, I was like, there should be a lot more EGC stuff at these traditional companies just to make sure people, because right now people are there for like, the churn's so high. How do you retain talent? I don't even know if they do enough to retain talent, but I feel like they should. And EGC could play a huge part in it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree with you. I think in a large way, it's the way people underutilize and undermine the amount of return or the effect that the marketing team can have on a business.
Yeah.
Even for us, it was very much a perception game, where we had to internally change the perception of how other functions would see marketing. It's like a bunch of people just running around capturing content. It's like, well, it's more than that. That's how we get enough eyes to get the leads to then want to use our services. But yeah, man, I think that's a big element. But, in a large way, I still think even though you tell people, you talk to people about it and say, this is what you need to do, 99.9% of them won't do it.
Yeah.
They won't do it.
Well, it's a sunk cost fallacy, isn't it? Like most people are just like, yeah, well, I'm kind of comfortable where I am. Why should I venture out of my comfort zone? And I get so riled up when people say that. I'm like, you just don't know what you're missing out on. Do you know what I mean? And actually that leads to one of the things life lessons you teach yourself. There was a reel you posted where you're like, oh, yeah, 4 life lessons I'd go and teach my younger self. And you said, learn to live outside your comfort zone on it. So to that point though, where does that come from for you, do you reckon? Because you've kind of did your independent stuff. Ravs has did it as well.
Yeah, Ravs has gone through a journey as well. Both of us have, in our own ways.
But like you've gone independent, but you've done your own thing. Stepping outside your comfort zone. Are your parents entrepreneurs? Or?
No. Oh. No, they're not entrepreneurs. They've done well well for themselves through real estate and all that sort of stuff. But no, they don't, again, I think my dad, up until probably he's now semi-retired. But there was always this, again, social conditioning, financial conditioning that you get a job, you stick to it, and you just in and out, you do the same thing, and you get to a point where you've got a sense of security in this base. But it's an interesting question because Ravs and I actually had this conversation a while ago. We were like, why do we take risks? Why do we do it? And are we getting more and more risk averse with time, or our risk threshold just keeps getting higher and higher and higher? So, he's in a slightly different position where he's married. He's about to have a baby.
Oh, wow.
And so him, I'm like, well, it's interesting because him and I have always been upping our risk tolerance or our threshold. And now I'm like, well, where does that sort of put you now? And he said, well, I think it dips. It dips a little bit for me, but he goes, I'm still miles ahead to what most average people who say don't want to necessarily go outside of their comfort zone want to take in terms of a form of risk. Man, I don't have an answer for that question. I don't have an answer. I think I live with the idea that I want to be on my deathbed and say, I've done everything.
Yeah.
I don't want to have a what if.
It's the what if thing.
Yeah.
You just want to give it because you just never know. And most people, even though like you have the sunk cost fallacy, but also people have this fear of how they're going to be perceived in doing different things. So when you said dancing and all those kind of things, I just put myself in your shoes and I'm like, if you watch me dance, I don't know how that would go, to be fair, right? So my mind just goes, oh, I don't want to make a muck out of myself. Chances are I might. But what I then realized is through social media, for example, like I was so nervous the day I was about to publish my podcast.
Like the first one?
Yeah. So I'd done all the back end, everything, and I had a post ready to go. Just a post, nothing else, like a carousel. But the account was public, going to press publish, and then the first video episode out, introducing the podcast and everything. So I remember when I was just about to hit post, my heart rate was at like 150. Like I was good. It was just pounding, and all of like how am I going to be perceived kind of a thing. It's a risk, right? Oh, well, not really, but you kind of perceive it to be a risk. And then now I'm at a point where I'm like, oh shit, I got to create another piece. Okay, let's just quickly do it. Bang, bang, out the door.
It's different.
Like, cool. So it's so wild how it changes, but no one gives a flying fuck about you. And
Genuinely.
that's the truth, right? We scroll through our socials, whatever. We see something we either like or don't like. Okay. Takes a second or two out of your day and then you move on. I've got other things to worry about. So when I understood that psychology, I was like, okay, yeah, we're good. But I don't see people executing on it or leveraging that.
No, I agree with you. I think the approach that you're taking of, because even for me, believe it or not, I probably till this very day, if I'm being honest to myself, is there's still that perception game that I have at the back of my mind. Even though I've gone to India, I've done this, I've done that.
Yeah.
But there's always that piece that I'm always struggling with, which is how are people going to perceive me? And letting go of that expectation has definitely been a challenge for me. There's definitely a lot of underconfidence that I have, or maybe there is a sense of insecurity that I have of what people may think of me. But you're right. Like, no one really cares, man. No one cares. And if they do, they care for a second. And they may talk about you if you're doing well. They may talk about you if you're not doing well. They'll talk regardless. What are you going to do?
100%. Mate, I've been called out for gentrification. I was like, geez, like,
what do you mean? Why?
it's just my accent and stuff.
Oh,
brown
dude.
skin, white accent, and they're like, yeah, gentrification, whatever. I was like, and turns out it was someone I knew.
Oh, of course.
Damn,
it's
what a
always the
snake.
ones there.
Yeah. I figured it out because the comments and stuff that I saw, I was just like, who the fuck is this? But I'm in a position where I'm like, I don't even care, because imagine the guy who's writing this or typing it out, right? Probably in his parents' bedroom or somewhere.
Yeah.
Just chucked in the corner. If that gives him a little bit of satisfaction, sure, be my guest.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. But one of the last things is, mate, your grooming style.
My grooming
Your
stuff.
grooming, yeah.
Okay.
We're very well put together from what? Because my sister was like, oh shit, like, he knows how to dress up. And a lot of us don't really know how to dress
What
up.
do you mean, man? You dress
this
well.
This is mom, sister, mom, kind of a bit of a concoction over there. No, so I love grooming and stuff, but it's something I'm trying to incorporate a little bit more in the podcast, which is like, how do you actually like in terms of branding and stuff, right? Like, you got to be smart, you got to be dressed to impress, and your first impression is your last impression, right? It's those kind of things. So where did the grooming stuff come from? Because you do like skincare stuff, and you do a lot of like get ready with me kind of stuff, and outfits. Do you plan your own outfits?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Plan my own outfits.
How'd you get into this? That's
my dad used to be so, I mean, Australian brands, but David Jones, Myers used to be Grace Brothers back in the day. So my dad used to model for them.
Okay.
And I used to always, my dad loved fashion, still loves fashion. That's obviously changed with time. But I think watching him as I was growing up to see, how much effort he used to put in definitely rubbed off on me. Where I used to always want to dress well. Not for anyone else, but for myself, because I think that gave me that sense of confidence, just perception, presentation game as well. So for me, I've always loved it. Yeah. I've always enjoyed it. And I think this also part and plays into, you got to be the best version of yourself to give the best version of yourself to others. And I think grooming is just part or form of that discipline that I have, which is, I don't want to just do well, with business. I want to do well holistically. So, I'm doubling down on my health, despite the F1 weekend that we just had.
That's a good exception.
Oh, man, it is a good exception.
You got to make an exception. I walked so much.
Yeah, I could imagine. I could imagine. But I'm always looking at the next thing. What's going to give me that slight bit of competitive edge, or just even for myself is like, as I'm getting into, I'm in my mid-30s now. This next decade is really going to make or break the rest of my life. So what are the things that I need to be doing, whether it be, it's not necessarily aesthetically, but, things that are holistically going to help me be a better version of myself. And I think that for me starts from how I present myself, how I look. And then that really dictates the mood that I'm in and the flow that, comes off the back of that. So I think it's just a combination of genuine interest and wanting to look good for myself and wanting to care for myself, along with watching dad growing up and seeing how much he used to care for himself as well.
It's I was speaking to my sister about this, about how important it is to know how to create a presence in a room. Not by talking, but just your aura. When you walk into that room, people look at you like, okay, that is someone important, I think. Don't know who that is, but fair play. And we were just discussing how could we do that. And it's just this confidence, the aura, but then it starts with how you look and how you groomed. And the more I grow up, the more I'm realizing like, oh no, as a podcast host, it's my job to look presentable.
Absolutely.
Right? But prior to that, I see so many Gen Z just, geez, the grooming is just all over the gaff, right? So you just gotta, that's why I bring it up, because what advice would you have for people? How do you start grooming? At a very basic level for someone who's just starting.
How do you start grooming?
Yeah.
That's an interesting question. It's a sort of part and parcel.
This was not planned.
Definitely was not planned. I think having the base layer of what are your essentials, and focusing on that. Like for me, I've got like a 4 or 5 step, morning routine, nighttime routine. I take that very seriously.
Okay.
So I could have the biggest of big nights.
Yeah.
I will go home. I will shower.
Yeah.
I will do all of it. Even if I'm off my face, I will still do that entire process because I know the compounding effect that it has. But, just to, basic things like, a good moisturizer, a good face wash, eye cream. I think eye cream is something that people should really be, with retinol at least, should be focusing their attention on. I think starting earlier is a lot better for you, longer term. A nice, and making sure you're well protected through sunscreen and everything like that. I try and keep it simple. I just look at what works. There's a lot of Korean products out there that I've also utilized. And I think at a baseline, it's just focusing on just the bare essentials of what I need to kind of get me to step one. From a skin routine perspective. And I think beyond that, like I think I pay more attention to my diet.
Okay.
And my health. And I think that in turn allows me to, have my skin's a lot better, as a result or anything like that. I think with clothing and stuff, it's also, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
You got to start somewhere. And, a lot of my clothing is from a brand called Suit Supply.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So the reason why I love it is because it's a great mix and it speaks to who I am as an individual, where it's slightly understated, very basic pieces, but when paired together are extremely effective in the way the way you look. And again, I think for me, every day I walk in to work, I have to put on not a mask, but I have to be on my best game because I've got 50 people that come to me when they need things. And I think starting point is I need to look the part. I need to walk in and go, this guy can potentially get me to the next spot, or this guy can answer the questions that I have. And I think that takes time. I think it's just understanding what's out there, looking at influences, seeing what style you resonate with the most and sort of following that.
Yeah, I just giggled over there because there's so many times I've been on Instagram.
Yep.
Thinking, oh, that looks so good. And I try to replicate that on me and I'm like, oh, geez.
Yeah.
Like a tool bag. What is that? And then it's like, shit, I just spent on $150 on absolutely making myself look a fool. I find it very challenging, like the clothing side of things.
Yeah.
Different builds, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, what works, what doesn't work, what might work on someone might not work on you. And I've just gone down so many spirals where I'm like, I just need to find a style that fits and suits me. So I'm going in that I'm trying to figure that out right now. Because my mom and my dad the other day was like, Sash, like, I think you got to up your game a bit as a, like, I was like, oh, like, as a host? He's like, no. How you look on camera with like your clothing and stuff. Why don't you, I want to see in like some good pieces and stuff. I was like, oh shit, okay. So I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't even know where to begin. So I went to like the mall and I was just trying to figure out, go to Zara, go to all these spots. And I'm like, I just don't know. I have no idea.
Well, look, I think the style that you have and carry yourself with is similar to mine.
Yeah.
And I think a great spot or starting spot is, I reckon, jump onto Suit Supply and just have a look
I've been
at.
told a few times.
Yeah. Have a look at the way that they put the models together. That's a great start, because then it's like you might not know what pieces work well with each other, and you might not know the color palette. Like for me, we're very similar colors. Earthly tones work really well for my skin. Anything that's a little bit too bright, outside of the norm, your oranges, reds, they don't work well for my skin tone.
Neither.
So I know that for me, anything that's earthly as an undertone works really well for my skin, and it allows me to project the way I look. And I think in a large way, it's also to do with then looking at those pieces online and then going, hey, actually, that's a great combination. I could see myself wearing something like that. Like I don't like to venture out too much out of what I already know. So yeah, I think that also helps too.
But what are your top 5 brands that like Suit Supply's one? What would you?
Oh mate,
what would you go for? What's on the top 5 brands that men can check out?
Definitely yes, Suit Supply. Another one is COS. COS is a good brand. Something that's again in the affordable space, especially if you're younger, would be say something like a Zara. Zenji is another brand that
Zenji?
Yeah, Zenji. It's another brand.
Okay.
I think it's an Australian brand, if I'm not mistaken.
I've never heard of it. I know Xenia, but like Xenia's.
Yeah, no, Zenji is another brand. And then the 5th one's probably Uniqlo. I think they do a lot of good stuff.
This is Uniqlo.
Yeah.
Uniqlo. This guy is a Canadian brand, I think.
I'm of the opinion, anything that's like essentials, you don't need to spend too much money on.
Uniqlo's great.
And then just a few pieces, like whether it be, a cardigan or a jumper or shoes, where you want to be putting a bit more attention, or a nice watch, where you want to be putting more attention to, which kind of elevates the look as a whole.
With your personal brand, like following and stuff, have you worked with Suit Supply?
No, not yet. Not yet. They know that I'm around. We haven't collaborated on anything.
Yeah. That'd be sick. And with the 26K, is it? Or 30K you're following?
On TikTok?
Insta.
Oh, Insta's I think 21-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
TikTok?
About 80.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, about 80.
What do you get brand deals? Do you work with brands with that sort of following?
Yeah. You get approached by brands. It just comes down to what you're willing to do and what you want. Like I said, as much as I've loved this space with what we're doing in the real estate space, that naturally takes precedence. And for me, I don't want to oversaturate myself in that way. So 9 out of 10 times we'll say no to working with brands, even though they offer money or anything like that. I think it's just sticking to what we want to do.
Gotcha. To wrap it up, like the 4 life lessons that you touched on in your Instagram reel, I just want you to elaborate a little bit more on those individually. So the first one was fall hard and fall fast.
Fall hard and fall fast. It happened like you can, I guess, use this in different ways, but I think it goes back to, if you're gonna dive into it, go all in and do it as quick as possible, because if it doesn't work out, you can move on to the next thing. So for me, it's that's kind of the essence of it, which is you're gonna do something, just do it and suffer the consequences, good or bad. And then again, it comes back to the what if approach. Yeah. So fall hard, fall fast.
Matthew McConaughey did an episode. Do you know Chris Williamson?
Yeah.
Modern Wisdom, right? Yep. And he goes, if you're going to go all in, just dive right into it. But go all in. Don't half-ass it all the way through. So that's kind of been the motto. So I loved when I was looking at researching you came up with the same. Second one is learn to live outside your comfort zone. I know we briefly touched on it. The third one is stop being overly critical about yourself.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like we literally had a conversation about how I'm, there's a perception game always at play, but I think that is for me more of a reinstatement of telling myself it's less about others and it's more about me in those sort of moments. So yeah, I think it just comes down to being absolutely comfortable with who you are and what you want to put out, and being okay that you're going to get judged regardless, good or bad.
I had an interesting chat with my guest yesterday, actually. She was a WTA pro, tennis pro, and she played against Sabalenka and all those guys at the US Open. And now she's retired because of a chronic back injury. But we were discussing this identity crisis of an athlete to a normal person now.
Yep.
How that it's pretty crazy, that journey. And we were saying like a lot of times we don't give ourselves enough grace. Because when you look back at your life with what you've done, you might just go like, hey, Deeps, man, fuck yeah, bro. Did well.
That's important.
Yeah.
That is super important. And I feel like even say someone like yourself would not sort of stop to smell the roses. You're more involved in the journey of it, which is amazing, and that's how it should be.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely taking moments out and doing that.
Yeah, I was doing it because growing up, we used to have like within the Indian culture, there's so much comparison. Right? I remember vividly. I was at a dinner, like a family dinner. I was probably like in year 9, and they were like, the question arose of, what do you want to be? And everyone in the room was like, one is like an engineer. These are kids. Engineer. And one of my very good mates is like, I want to become a chartered accountant. I'm sitting there thinking, what is a chartered accountant? I have no idea. And then like one of the uncles asked me, and I'm like, cricketer. Easy. And I remember I had a chat with some family afterwards, and they're like, really? Like you gotta have a realistic answer here. I'm like, it's pretty real. But they didn't believe it as much. So I was always like trapped in this thing of like, oh no. It has to be like a job kind of thing. So I found it very fascinating how that sort of bleeds in. But that sort of suppressed the cricketing side a lot, where now when I look back, I'm like, holy shit. But during that time, I was like, oh, like I'm doing the cricket stuff, but like I need to be doing something else. I just don't know what that is. But in hindsight, I'm like, whoa, like that was a freaking crazy ride. And I'm so glad. I just wish I knew what I was going through, and so that I just absorbed it more, which is what I'm learning now, is like, just enjoy it as much as you can, man.
I agree.
So the last one he said is stop caring what others have to say about you.
Yeah, that's kind of been the undertone of this this interview.
Exactly. Yeah. But what's next for you, man? What's happening? You heading back to Australia tomorrow? Tomorrow evening I leave. Get straight back into work, and then
straight away. Eh? Yeah. I mean, it's been a bit of a working holiday for me as well. Okay. So. Straight back into it. Like I said, we're starting a new venture. You'll probably hear about it soon. Yeah, soon enough. But yeah, I would say the next 6 months is just knuckling down, getting the new business set up, and then see what comes off the back of that. So yeah.
Is that the plan, or plans for Christmas? Anything else?
Stay local, stay with family, stay grounded. I might even do New Year's by myself.
By yourself?
By myself.
How so?
I think it's also important to kind of spend time with yourself when you can, and New Year's is New Year's, so I might just end up being by myself. I don't know, something different.
What does that mean though? Like being by yourself, like you at a resort, or at a
just in my place, in my home.
Oh shit,
by myself. Something different.
Would you not feel that like
I don't
family pressure of like
no, I don't. I try and live by this rule of JOMO, so the joy of missing out.
JOMO. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, okay. JOMO. So I think I'm in that season of my life now where I don't want it. Like, it's okay if I'm not invited to things. It's all right. It's okay. I don't need to be. So yeah, spending time doing that.
Mate, I appreciate you taking the time.
Likewise.
So glad we could.
I
We were
know,
able to do this. Like I don't know how it all synced up, but
but it worked.
it worked. All right, Deeps.
Thank you so much,
Appreciate you,
mate. Appreciate it.
Likewise. Ladies and gentlemen, Deepak Sharma.